agriculture and food processing is no longer a local business, but it's a global, technology driven, sustainability focused, and opportunity rich platform, domain, and most emerging area of India. And that's why we try to understand today's session that how we can connect with global opportunities, how we can solve our export challenges, and how we can make more value addition in our current business. So let's welcome our today's session's moderator, very young and dynamic person. I would like to request Mr. Dhaval Chandarana to please stand up at your place. Today's session, Mr. Dhaval Chandarana will be our moderator, and he is a dynamic entrepreneur in the organic and agribusiness space, known for his deep industry understanding and ability to connect practical ground realities with strategic vision. Thank you, Dhaval. जीत उसी की है जो जीतना जानता है, जीत उसी की है जो जीतना जानता है, लेकिन हार उसकी है जो हार मान लेता है. And when you are give up in your business, why? Because you don't have a relevant knowledge, information, and platform. LIBF 2026 has given you that opportunity that you can network with the like-minded, experienced Lohanas. But if you don't have information and knowledge, then everything is zero. So that's why in today's session, we have a very experienced dignitary and expert with us as our keynote speaker, Mr. Bimal Kantaria. I would like to request sir to please come on stage. Mr. Kantaria is a respected global leader with vast experience in agriculture, fertilizer, and African agri markets. He brings with his international insights, cross-border trade knowledge, and real-world experience of working with farmers and agri ecosystem across East Africa and India. Let's try to understand કે એમના વિચારો ઇન્ડિયન માર્કેટમાં ગ્લોબલી તમારે પ્લેસમેન્ટ જોતું હોય તો what you need to do, what changes you need to required, and definitely we will get more information, insights from our today's keynote speaker, Mr. Bimal Kantaria. Please give a big round of applause to welcome our keynote speaker. Yes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Jai Shri Krishna Bada and Jai Jalaram. Let me quickly introduce myself and why they've invited me to speak this morning. So, Amar Kutum Kenya started in 1898. I'm 125 varas na Nairobi mache. Originally from Bilka, just outside Rajkot, and we've always been in the sort of agriculture sort of sector. Ame jare Kenya poicha, there was nothing there. We were, I think, the first sort of Indian family which the British colonialists brought to Kenya. Ame tyare vyapari hata, not the railway workers. We were the support staff to the railway workers. Since then, we've been in business. We've grown in Kenya, in East Africa, always supplying inputs of fertilizers, chemicals, agriculture, implements, greenhouses to East African farmers. So my office in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kampala, Addis Ababa, and Arusha, which is in Tanzania. This year we're planning to open an office in Ghana and in Nigeria. So we should be hopefully between West and East Africa opening our offices. We have offices. I'm the fourth generation in my company. My brother and my sister and me, we run the company. Namara fifth generation chokra badai che, yaware se badai joint hawa manse. Amara chokra badai London bane che, Canada bane che, but mara bhai na be chokra iter che, graduate the gaya. Na rakan plan che ke, they'll join the business in the next few months. So the idea is to keep growing in Africa. Asavar Satish bhai Vitlani sate man maine na Satish bhai tamne khabar kewa che, right? He says it like he says it. So any mane idea aipo. He goes tame આજે સ્પીચમાં બોલો કે તમને કેન્યામાં કે East Africa માં knowledge જોતું હોય, how do you start a business in East Africa? If you want to come and explore the East African market, please call me. Come and talk to me. Come and tell me, come to interest share. Can you open a door? Can you contact me with suppliers or customers? That's my job. I'm the zonal president of Kenya. So if you need any advice on the East African market, please do reach out to me. You have my contacts. I'll give you my contacts. But that's part of the job of being a zonal president. The second one I did want to talk about, and I'll repeat it at the end of the session as well. In East Africa, we have every 2 years an annual sports festival where all East African Lohanas get together, and we have a sports and cultural festival. This year in December, it's going to be in Nairobi, in Kenya, 25th, 26th, 27th December. It's open to everybody. So tamne lagi kita tamne Kenya matur, explore the market. Please come to Kenya during that time in December. Iba na tamako East Africa Lohana marso tamne networking thase, and you can open a door. Again, if you need any advice or where to do, come and see me, please. Huh? I did want to acknowledge the presence of Pratibhai Damecha here. Pratibhai, you all know Damecha family in London. A very eminent, prominent family. And some of the speech that I've been making, I'll refer to his business in particular, because we're going to talk a little bit about agriculture exports as well. Although they're neighbors, extremely different economies. And you could probably link it to what you have, all the states you have in India as well, where every state is very different from everybody else. So don't presume Africa is one big giant place. It's very confusing, but every single sector, every single country is slightly different. So agriculture is very important in India, but also very important in Africa as well. In Kenya, for instance, 60 to 70% of the GDP relies on agriculture, agro-processing, and the various trades around it. Of course, in India, massive amount of employment. You employ between 40 to 50% of your total rural population relies on agriculture. That includes transport, agri-processing, and similar statistics are in Africa. It's by far the biggest employer, by far the biggest contributor to GDP. So it really is a significant part of your country, and of course our country as well. Agriculture in Kenya or Africa is massively growing. We're going up the value chain, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means and what the linkages you have in India, and the sort of the learnings you can pick up from how we handle agriculture in Kenya, and perhaps have a few lessons for Indian growers as well and Indian businessmen. So I've got 3 or 4 different points which we can talk about, and I know we've got a very distinguished panel after this who are very seasoned businessmen and traders in grains and other products, and I'm sure we'll hear all of you as well. But I want to show you a little bit about how we handle agriculture in Kenya, and why, to an extent, we've been quite successful in what we do in terms of our value addition and how we do our marketing of our products. To give you an example, Kenya is now the world's largest exporter of fresh flowers. We export around the world. Although we only have 2,500 hectares of fresh flowers, we are extremely good at what we do. We grow it under greenhouse conditions. We export throughout the world, including sometimes to India, but of course we have a problem with trade agreements between India and Kenya. But we export Australia. Around the world is our flowers, and one of the main reasons for our success in flowers or green beans or our horticrops is we spend a lot of time on branding our products. We don't just sell commodities, and I think that's where the problem is. Once speculators get into a sector, prices collapse. So how do you differentiate yourself from your neighbor? Millet you're selling, how do you differentiate your products from your neighbors? It eventually becomes a price game, and you're all in trouble. You've lost your margin. So how do you differentiate your product from your neighbor's product? So we spend a lot of time talking about the branding of the product. Now that's why I wanted to talk to you about Pratibhai. Pratibhai is possibly your final customer, because he's a guy in London who's importing stuff from India and Kenya, and he's selling it in his supermarkets. So how does he say which product is better, and how does his customers decide, I want to buy this product or this product, right? So there's something called GI. I'm sure you all know about geographical indicators. It's basically a branding of your product. You've been, of course, very successful with your Darjeeling tea. You branded it really well. It differentiates from the rest of the tea in the world. Tamara Alphonse Kedije Tamari, again, it's a GI branded product. It comes from a specific area in India. It's grown under certain conditions and it's been branded, and you do an excellent job in marketing it. So it's very important that you stand out from the rest of the crowd by having a certain different. It's just a marketing tool. A mango is a mango is mango. Got a swad method of different soy. But why does this mango go and why does that tea grow? So again, it's about branding. How do you put it on the in the right packaging, in the right um, logos? All that stuff is very important, and Pradipbhai would be a better man than I am on that subject. So again, I'm saying that I see in India a lot of problems with everybody just copying each other, and then you're talking about pricing, and then you're in trouble. Every business knows the minute somebody talks to you about price, you're in trouble. The second one, it's a big problem in India and partly to an extent in Africa, is traceability. The problem is at the moment, consumers, particularly even in India, they want to know where this crop was grown. Am I eating something that is clean? It's well, cleaning is obviously the right word, but is it well grown? And what are the origins of that product? So traceability has become a very important term. In Kenya, the big panic in Kenya is about pesticides in our food. Is what kind of pesticides were used in growing our horticulture crops. So we're now spending a lot more time, and government spending a lot more effort in making sure that all the products that reach a supermarket shelf are properly traceable to which farm they were made on. And again, that's the promise in the global environment is, can you identify where that millet or rice or wherever, was it grown in the right place? And can I trace back if something goes wrong with that product? Can I come back to the farm and identify what the problem was? That you have to identify in documented form. We all know about climate change. It's become a big issue. In Africa, climate change is extremely serious. We used to have, you could virtually predict when the rains were coming, when the monsoons were coming, the short rains and the long rains. That no longer is true. So your final consumer also wants to know, will you be able to match the contracts that you've set? Are you going to supply in January or February or March, mangoes or whatever you export? Are you sure you're going to be able to do it? And because of climate change, it's very difficult. So Kenya has now gone completely into tech. So we grow most of our produce under greenhouse plastics. We use drip irrigation to a large extent for the major crops. We've got very scientific ways of growing our crops throughout the year. And that way we can slightly, control what the climatic conditions are in our greenhouses. Again, very successful we've become, so we can export, for instance, instead of having 2 crops a year, we can have 3 or 4 different crops or cycles every year. And it's increased our productivity likewise and our profitability of our farmers quite a lot because of that. Because we've gone into high-tech farming. If you want to come and see Kenyan farmers, just Google Kenyan greenhouses. It's really sophisticated farming. We can predict down to a day when our green beans will be up for production. We can say between 42 and 43 days we'll get a crop. With that precise. Our roses between 21 and 22 days will be ready, the cycles. So for instance, we can harvest on the 21st day, we know it's ready. In 2 days, we will have it packed, shipped on a UK supermarket. That's how sophisticated our whole system of planning has been. And it's taken us many years to do it. And companies like mine, my company is called Elgin Kenya, we spend a lot of time and money and energy on technology and stuff. So we represent a number of your Indian companies, including Jain Irrigation and UPL and these kind of companies. But still, if you compare yourselves with Israeli companies and the tech they have out there, India's a little bit behind. But if you come to my company, you'll see we have really clever techniques for farmers to use. And the last one, which the last 2 things I really want to quickly go through is in India, I see the problem is not necessarily growing a crop. It's more about logistics. The cold chain is still a big weakness. Majority of your crops selling them to throw away because your cold chain isn't as sophisticated as it should be. There's not enough investment in there. So your farmer may be growing a good crop, but is it reaching the market domestically and internationally in the right conditions throughout the chain? And of course, your infrastructure is getting better. Modi ji is spending a fortune on new roads and all that. So I think India's in the right direction. But in return, there's a massive opportunity for businessmen like us to have cold chains, trucks, able to buy from a farm and ship it to a supermarket or the major metros in the right condition. And there's a huge amount of investment required. And private sector, I think, it can do it really well. In Kenya, we have got massive PE funds and VC funds who invest in cold chain delivery trucks, and it's very profitable and very successful. And the final one I did want to mention to you is about your export market. I think India has still a massive potential of growing South-South trade, Middle East, and that whole area is open for Indian business. I'll give you a good example. In Kenya, there's an Indian group. The largest farm in Kenya, flower farm, is owned by a company called the Black Tulip Group. It's an Indian original investor. But Black Tulip Group very cleverly came to Kenya, and they bought out 7 or 8 large farms. Fruit shops, vegetable shops. They're so cleverly, they grow their own produce, they ship their own produce into the Middle East, and they do their own retailing into the Middle East market, and they control 30 or 40% of the total trade in the Middle East is controlled by an Indian company, buying produce from not only in Kenya but now Ethiopia and various parts of East Africa. So the export market I still has massive potential. I think maybe we focus sometimes too much on but I see that because my country is very small, Kenya, compared to India, if we're able to penetrate that market, surely after Lohana Vepari, but they can see a potential out there on growing their businesses. So that's all I have to say, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my open offer is to you. If you want to learn a little bit more about doing business in Kenya and Africa, please come and see me. And in December, we have a sports festival. Please, aujo, tama chokra na lane awo, tama, bring your husbands and wives and girlfriends. Well, make sure you come, please. Huh? But then, Jai Krishna, Jai Jarara.
A few questions. Thank you so much, Bimal bhai. I had a few follow-up questions on the keynote. I had prepared a little bit. બાકી તમારા આમાં keynote માંથી જ મને એક બે points મળ્યા. એક general question છે. What opportunities exist today for Indian traders and processors in Africa?
Yeah, so there is massive room, not necessarily in growing agriculture. I think growing, you have to have green fingers. You need to be a farmer to grow, right? So maybe that's less potential. But I would be a middleman. I would buy from a farmer and export. I would get involved in the cold chain. There's so much. The agriculture value chain is huge. IT, tech, irrigation. There's so much involved from the farmer to the end retailer. Massive opportunity. And Apara Bayu in Kenya and East Africa are doing very well. Huh? They're very successful. Apara Lohana businessmen are very successful. Gujaratis control the majority of the East African economy. According to us, the Indian community in Kenya controls 30% of GDP still in Kenya. And still massive room for growth as well. Huh?
Amazing. One follow-up question. You mentioned pesticides. We see, because we also import from a lot of African countries, we see the pesticide usage, because Africa at one point was considered naturally organic. You buy anything, it's organic. The pesticide usage in Africa in many of the countries is increasing. Is that true?
It is because we have two problems. One is the soils are getting deficient in nutrients, so you had to add nutrients. But secondly, it's become an industry. Like I mentioned, you need to be 21 days means 21 days. How do you do that? You need to use pesticides. But we're spending a lot more time using organics, natural products, eco-friendly products. So in my company, we do a lot more eco products than we did maybe 5 years ago. But it's an industry. So you got to, and the problem with Africa is it's on the tropical, it's on the equator. So our insects are quite strong insects. We got to kill it with pesticides.
So of course you're doing quite a bit in the farming inputs. Is it readily available for all farmers, or is it something the organic fertilizers and the pesticides, or still the chemical ones are being used widespread right now?
So organic, it's a nice word to use, but it's not as effective as a synthetic fertilizer, right? It's not as quick, and if you're a commercial farmer, you want instant reaction. So organic takes time to process and work, and farmers don't have patience and they don't have the money. So that's why they use synthetics like DAP and NPK to quickly get the effect and quickly move on to the next cycle. And that's where the financial pressure is there, which organic technology hasn't reached that far yet.
So then there is a chance that what India is right now in terms of pesticide, there's a lot of pesticide usage widespread, and whatever we eat, has pesticides some or the other level. Africa will also reach that stage where all the farmers will be using consistently a lot of pesticides, and you'll have a difficult time in giving organic foods.
So Kenya has been very clear. So if you understand what pesticides, there's 4 levels of dangerous pesticides. Pesticides 1 and 2 are very dangerous, which cancerous, whatever. So in Kenya we've banned section 1 and 2. We're now going to more and more into 3 and 4, which are much more friendly, environmentally friendly. So as a country, our consumers are very conscious, like I'm sure in India. They don't want pesticides in the food. So over the next 5 or 10 years, we're going to phase out 1, 2, 3 of the chemicals that we can use and come down to 4, which are much more friendly for humans, but also they are effective as well.
One last question, sorry. I'm sure a lot of people would want to know. There's a lot of talk in India about ease of doing business. How easy is it to do business in Africa?
If you can do business in India, you can do business in Kenya, I swear. To do business in India, you people are very clever, very smart. Your hardcore businessmen come into business in Kenya, you'll find it much easier. સાચી વાત કે નહીં? Correct? ચલો અમારો સ્ટોલ છે A20 at the end, Elgin, Kenya. તમને કઈ ઇન્ફોર્મેશન જોતી હોય, મારા સ્ટાફ અહીંયા છે. Please come and talk to us. We're here to help. Anything you guys need in East Africa, we can come and talk.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Big round of applause, please. Thank you. So I think do any one of you have any questions for Bimal bhai? Sorry, I took up all the time for the questions. We'll start with the panel discussion. Can you please? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bimal sir, for a very useful, interactive, and insightful detailing about the business to work at Kenya, East Africa. Let's start our panel discussion. First of all, I would like to invite our panelist, Mr. Raju Sarin, Head of Business, Madhwani Group, Uganda, East Africa. Please give a big round of applause for Mr. Anandai Kopat, industry with deep understanding of cotton markets, ginning operations, and yarn trade. Now I would like to request and welcome Mr. Jitendra Bhai Kakkad, Shriji Global Limited. I would like to hand over to Dhaval.
Thank you so much. Hello. So, see, the topic is agri, and no agri is complete without oilseeds, sugar, spices, and cotton. So we've covered all the basic ones, and all are our good friends, very big groups, all Lohanas. So I'll quickly start with the panel discussion. I don't think we have a lot of time, but we started a little late, so I think we get the liberty. Sorry, Pradeep, bhai, thoduk late tha se. So I'll start quickly with a question for Raju bhai. We talked with Vimal bhai about Africa. તમારું આફ્રિકામાં સુગરનું મોટું કામ છે. How do you see Africa's role evolving in the global agri supply chain?
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, namaskar, and thank you very much for organizing this deliberation and coming to the point that as much as Africa's role in the sugar industry, that's what you are basically asking, and its relevance to the Indian context. Okay, and just to introduce myself, that I work with Madhwani Group, Kakira Sugar. I'm based in I hail from Delhi. Sugar business. East Africa is still evolving as a sugar consumer. Like if I look at the per capita consumption of sugar in East Africa, which my fellow panelists rightly pointed that Africa is a diverse economy and Kenya is the largest economy in terms of the consumption. An average Kenyan consumes 13 kg per person per year, per capita consumption of sugar. Uganda's consumption is close to 9 kg per person per year. And this data will be more clearer when I compare it with the first world, like an average American consumes 29 kg per person per year. And an average Indian consumes 22 kg per person per year. So that's where Africa is a huge potential. Even if our economy of the East Africa moves to the range of 15 kg per person per year, there is a great scope for Indian sugar industry because India today is the largest sugar producer in the world. There is always a battle between India and Brazil. Brazil used to be the largest producer. Now India is the largest producer as well as largest consumer. And India being closer to East Africa in terms of the logistics, and as I said that the trade is significantly controlled and contributed by the Indian diaspora. So I still find it a huge opportunity for the Indian sugar manufacturers, that why are they allowing Brazilians to come and export sugar to East Africa when they don't have that sort of a social connectivity. So that's a huge opportunity as well as challenge for the Indian sugar industry to tap, because East Africa is still a sugar deficient region within the Africa. The total consumption of East Africa in terms of sugar is 2.5 million tons a year, almost 3 million now. Production of the East Africa, all the countries put together, is close to 1.6 million ton. There is still 1 million ton sugar required every year, direct table sugar. I'm not including the industrial sugar in that. And the prices are better in East Africa. Your realization is better. Logistically, you are well connected. You have a channel partners, the fellow Indian community. And so that's one potential for the Indian sugar industry. Similarly, if I look at when we say that the India's role, we should not only look at India's possible exports, what India can import from East Africa. India is a deficient country as much as your edible oils are concerned. East African countries, they have best quality of the oil. India can look at importing them. Then off late, you have a superfood called chia seed. More women will be interested to find it out. And normally I see in Delhi and all that, when I go there, they import chia seed from Latin America and the Southern Americans. You'll be surprised to know that Uganda, my country, has the best chia seed in the world. The traders have to come and brand it up. There is a huge potential. Uganda's coffee is best in the world. Tea is best in the world. And you're surprised to find that some of the manufacturers in India, they import for you knowing it what tea you're consuming. So these are the opportunities. As much as the trade part, import, export, and India's integration with the East Africa is concerned. Anything else?
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think you pretty much covered everything. Uh, uh, I have one question for you, Jitendra Bhai. You're very much involved in the spices trade. And when we talk about spices, આપણે જીરું દાણાની વાત કરીએ એટલે સટ્ટાની જ વાત કરીએ. Everyone is talking about કે ભાઈ તેજી મંદી સટ્ટો. So what, how much bigger role does NCDX MCX play in the spices, and whether, like, what should traders focus on? The hedging part, of course, NCDX is majorly for hedging, but there's also a lot of physical trade. So people, who are not really experts as NCDX, what is your advice to them? NCDX, physical, both, please.
હલો. હવે ધીમે ધીમે સટ્ટાનું કામ ઘટતું જાય છે. એનસીડીએક્સમાં વોલ્યુમ ઘણા ઓછા થઈ ગયા છે. તો બી પણ આપણે ગમે ત્યારે કોઈ બી વસ્તુનું હેજિંગ કરવું હોય તો એના માટે એક પ્લેટફોર્મ છે. ધાણા છે, જીરું છે, મેજર તો આ બે વસ્તુ જ રહી છે. બાકી પલ્સીસ ને ઓઇલસીડ બધા એનસીડી ગવર્મેન્ટે બેન કરી દીધા છે. તો એક સેફટી થઈ જાય કે ભાઈ તમે આગળનો માલ વેચો છે તો તમે એનસીડીએક્સ ઉપર બાય કરીને આગળ માલ વેચો છે, અથવા તો તમે માલ લીધો છે તો તમે એનસીડીએક્સ ઉપર હેજ કરી શકો. તો હેજિંગ માટે સારી ઓપોર્ચ્યુનિટી છે એનસીડીએક્સમાં. હજી પણ વોલ્યુમ ઘટે છે, પણ કંઈ ને કંઈ આગળ જતાં બધી વસ્તુની ગવર્મેન્ટ છૂટછાટ આપે છે. ગવર્મેન્ટને બી શું બધી વસ્તુના ભાવ છે તો ઉપર લઈ જવા છે. તો આ વર્ષે એગ્રીકલ્ચરમાં બધી વસ્તુમાં તેજી રહેશે એવું લાગે છે.
પણ ઓવરઓલ નવા કોઈ બી નવું જનરેશન બહુ બધું બેઠું છે અહીંયા, એની તમે શું સલાહ આપશો? એનસીડીએક્સમાં ભાગ લેવો જોઈએ, ના લેવો જોઈએ, કે કેવી રીતે કરવું જોઈએ?
નહીં, ડેફિનેટલી એનસીડીએક્સમાં ભાગ લેવો જ જોઈએ. તમે હેજિંગમાં બી સારી ઓપોર્ચ્યુનિટી હોય છે, પણ તમારે કોઈ બી માલ આગળ તમે વેચો ફોરવર્ડ, સપોઝ કે કોઈ 2-3 મહિનાનો આગળ માલ માંગે તો તમે એનસીડીએક્સ ઉપર બાય કરીને બી વેચી શકો. બટ સટ્ટો નહીં કરવાનો, એનસીડીએક્સ ઉપર માલ લેવાનો, હેજિંગ કરવાનું એમ.
આનંદભાઈ, તમારું યોર મેઇન ફોર્ટે કોટન ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી, ઓવરઓલ ઇન્ડિયાનું સ્ટેન્ડ ગ્લોબલ કોટન માર્કેટમાં શું છે અને શું નેક્સ્ટ ફ્યુચર તમને લાગે છે?
આખા વિશ્વમાં લગભગ 15 કરોડ ગાંસડી જેટલું.
Anyone of you who do not understand Gujarati is fine. हिंदी बीच में चलेगा?
हिंदी चले.
हाँ.
पूरे विश्व में रुई का उत्पादन अबाउट 15 करोड़ गठान का हो रहा है. उसमें से इंडिया का रोल है जो 3 से 3.5 करोड़ के बीच में इंडिया में प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है. ये 30% अबाउट 20 to 30% इंडियाના પ્રોડક્શન છે. કન્ઝમ્પશન પણ ઇન્ડિયામાં લગભગ 3.3 કરોડ 3.5 કરોડ ગાંસડીનું કન્ઝમ્પશન પણ ઇન્ડિયામાં થાય છે. વિશ્વમાં પણ 15 કરોડનું કન્ઝમ્પશન અબાઉટ છે. એમાં સેમ રોલ છે કન્ઝમ્પશનમાં ઇન્ડિયાનો. હવે વાત આવી ઇન્ડિયામાં ઉત્પાદનની, તો ઇન્ડિયામાં વધીને 4 કરોડ ઉપર ગાંસડીનું ઉત્પાદન થયેલું હતું, ઘટીને અત્યારે 3 થી 3 કરોડ 20 લાખ આસપાસનું 3 કરોડ 3.25 કરોડનું ઉત્પાદન થઈ રહ્યું છે. કરંટ સિઝનની વાત કરીએ તો આ વર્ષે પણ 3 કરોડ 20 લાખ ગાંસડી આસપાસનું ઉત્પાદન થવાની ધારણા છે. અને એની સામે 3 કરોડ ને 20 લાખ આસપાસ 24-25 લાખ આસપાસનું કન્ઝમ્પશન થાય છે ઇન્ડિયાની અંદરમાં. ઇન્ડિયનની કોટન ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીઝમાં સૌથી મોટો અત્યારે ઇસ્યુ છે એમએસપી. ગવર્મેન્ટ દ્વારા મિનિમમ સપોર્ટ પ્રાઇસ છે દર વર્ષે વધારવામાં આવે છે. આ વર્ષે છેલ્લા 2-3 વર્ષથી જે ભાવ વધીને થયા છે એ ઇન્ટરનેશનલ માર્કેટથી ઘણા ઊંચા ભાવ છે. એટલે આખો ટ્રેડ જે છે એ ગવર્મેન્ટ પાસે જવા માંડ્યો છે. આજે અત્યાર સુધીમાં લગભગ 2 કરોડ ગાંસડીની ઇન્ડિયામાં આવક થઈ, એમાંથી એરાઉન્ડ 1 કરોડ જેટલી ગાંસડી જેટલો માલ ગવર્મેન્ટે પરચેઝ કરી લીધો અને એની પાસે થયો. એટલે દેશમાં કૃત્રિમ અછત થઈ, જે સ્પિનિંગ ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીઝ, ટેક્સટાઇલ ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીઝને બધાને તકલીફ થઈ. ગવર્મેન્ટે એના માટે ઇમ્પોર્ટ ડ્યુટી, જે ઇમ્પોર્ટ કોટન થાય છે એમાં 11% ડ્યુટી હતી, એ 3 થી 4 મહિના માટે ફ્રી કરી દીધી 31 ડિસેમ્બર સુધી. એટલે ભાવ કંટ્રોલમાં રહ્યા અને રાહત થઈ. અત્યારની પરિસ્થિતિમાં મેજર સ્ટોક જે ઇન્ડિયાનો છે એ સીસીઆઈના હાથમાં છે અત્યારે. ગયા વર્ષનો સ્ટોક, ઓપનિંગ સ્ટોક જે સિઝનનો કહેવાય, એ ભારતમાં 55 લાખ ગાંસડી જેટલો અંદાજે હતો. 55 લાખ ગાંસડી ઇમ્પોર્ટ થશે, 1 કરોડ 10 લાખ, 15 લાખ ગાંસડી એક્સપોર્ટ થશે. રૂમાં કોઈ તેજી થવાની ધારણા નથી. અત્યારે આફ્રિકન કન્ટ્રીઝવાળા બધા છે, આફ્રિકાની કન્ટ્રીઝમાંથી એમાં અત્યાર સુધી ડ્યુટી ફ્રી હતી એટલે ઘણું રૂ આયાત થયું. બીજા દેશોમાંથી લઈ તો 11% ડ્યુટી છે. આફ્રિકન કન્ટ્રીઝમાંથી જે લીસ્ટ ડેવલપમેન્ટ કન્ટ્રીઝ છે જે છે એમાં 50% ડ્યુટીની રાહત છે, એટલે 5.5% ડ્યુટી છે. અત્યારે પણ જે અમુક દેશોના રૂ ભારતમાં ઇમ્પોર્ટ થઈ રહ્યા છે અને પોસિબિલિટીઝ છે. જનરલ પરિસ્થિતિ આ રીતની રૂની છે.
એક ફોલોઅપ ક્વેશ્ચન. હવે આપણે રિસન્ટલી લોટ ઓફ FTAs આર બીંગ સાઇન્ડ, સ્પેશિયલી મોસ્ટ રિસન્ટ ઇઝ યુરોપ. તો યુરોપનું FTA થી કોટન માર્કેટમાં શું તમને પોસિબિલિટીઝ ફ્યુચર દેખાય છે?
યુરોપથી કોઈ પણ પ્રકારનું રૂ આવતું નથી.
એક્સપોર્ટમાં ટેક્સટાઇલ
રૂના ઇમ્પોર્ટમાં કોઈ જાતનો ફરક પડવાનો નથી. એક્સપોર્ટમાં રૂ એક્સપોર્ટ ત્યાં થતું નથી, ત્યાં સ્પિનિંગ મિલ બહુ ઓછી છે, બહુ લિમિટેડ છે. પણ ટેક્સટાઇલ્સ, ગાર્મેન્ટ્સ, એપ્રલ્સ, ક્લોથ્સ, આ બધું ઘણું એક્સપોર્ટ ત્યાં થાય છે. અને બાંગ્લાદેશમાં ત્યાં ટેરિફ ઓછું હતો, બીજા દેશોમાં ઓછા હતા, એની કમ્પેરિઝનમાં ઇન્ડિયામાં ત્યાં ડ્યુટી વધારે હતી. આ FTA થવાથી જે લગભગ મોટાભાગની ટેક્સટાઇલ આઇટમમાં 0 ડ્યુટી થઈ જાય છે. એટલે આપણું યુરોપ કન્ટ્રીઝમાં એક્સપોર્ટ ખૂબ જ વધશે આવતા વર્ષોમાં એવી ધારણા દેખાય છે.
જમીન
ઇન્ડિયાનો હિસ્સો બહુ જ ઓછો છે, 2-3% છે. એ વધીને કદાચ 10-15% પહોંચી જાય તો નવાઈ નહીં.
Thank you. Hello. Hello. Yeah. Audible? Jai Bhai. How can Indian exporters move from commodity trading to value added and branded products? I think Bimal Bhai talked about branding a little bit. The major issue Indian exporters face, especially in apna commodities ma, is everyone is doing the same thing. Tal wada jiru kare che, jiru wada tal kare che, singdana badhai kare che. Everyone's doing everything. There's no, it's end of the day commoditized. બધા copy paste, it's all cleaning, sortex, પેલા sortex નહોતા, હવે બધા sortex કરવા માંડ્યા છે. So how can we differentiate ourselves? Where do you see the opportunity and threats?
Namaste everyone. I think the key is we are always playing on price. આપણે એક જ કોઈ બાયર સાથે વાત કરીને તો we are just talking about price. એટલે I think કંટેરા સાહેબ એક બહુ મસ્ત કીધી હતી, when you talk about price you lose margin. Just the price is not. એટલે there are 3 pillars, price છે, service છે અને quality છે. So whenever you're talking with a customer, કે ભાઈ you can only have two. If you want service and quality, you will have to compromise on the price. So તમે તમારા buyer સાથે કોઈ differentiating factor, every business will have its own differentiating factor. So for example, we are there, so our differentiating factor at Double Agri is that we are very big. We are, the volumes are very large, so we can give all different kinds of quality that a customer can need. That's a differentiated quality that we are having. So we have to pitch that. So every business, of course, there is no one, one size fits all kind of a solution. Every business has its own USP. You will have to develop that USP into something that the buyer is willing to pay for. એટલે તો જ તમે કોમ્પિટિશનથી થોડા અલગ થઈ શકશો. એવરી બિઝનેસ વિલ બી એબલ ટુ ડુ ઇટ ડિફરન્ટલી. અત્યારે જેમ ધવલે કીધું કે ઇટ્સ વેરી કોમોડિટાઇઝડ. એવરીબડી ઇઝ ડુઈંગ everything. So there is no differentiating factor. You will have to find that USP in your own business and you have to capitalize on that to set yourself apart and get a higher price for whatever you're selling. I think that is what needs to be done. That is the need of the hour. Because આપણે ઓવર કોમ્પિટિશનમાં we are killing each other. There's no sense. જે બી અત્યારે commodity business is happening out of India, there is over competition in most things. And other than speculation, running trade, there are no margins, which is not a good sign for the industry.
A similar question to what I asked Anand Bhai. FTAs, where do you see opportunities in oilseeds? If there's any movement or any changes expected due to that?
So I think Europe remains a very big market for Indian oilseeds. Two major oilseeds out of India, sesame and peanuts. Sesame seeds has already got a very big market in Europe, and peanuts it doesn't have a market in Europe right now because of aftertax that we are having in Indian peanuts. Little bit reduction in duty, sesame seeds, so no major impact there. But I think with the FTA movements, I think access to these markets are improving. Non-tariff barriers ma bhi government of focus here, so that will help in the future to actually improve the trade, especially for the oil seeds. FTAs ni baat kariye to something US will definitely help. So let's hope that happens soon.
Let's pray for that. Hello. Yeah. So one question I have for all of you. You can answer one by one. I don't know how this is for you. First, I'll ask you, Sarin Bhai, Raju Bhai. Domestic market versus exports. Where do you see better stability? Sugar, of course, you mentioned there's a lot of import possibilities. How is the export scenario from Uganda for sugar? Is it all consumed internally? Is there a lot of scope for exports? Is there scope for production and exports out of Uganda? Something like organics, maybe?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for raising this question. As much as coming back to the sugar landscape of the East Africa is concerned, Uganda is the only country within the East Africa region, East or Central Africa region, which is sugar surplus. As I said earlier, East Africa as a region is sugar deficient, but Uganda amongst that region is a sugar surplus. And primarily we export within the East Africa region to Kenya, to Tanzania, to Rwanda, South Sudan, Rwanda, and all those countries. Africa, whether it is sugar or wherever some sort of a processing gets involved, Africa, because of its logistic challenges, is still not an exporter of the value added products at a global landscape. One reason, of course, is the logistic challenge. Second reason, which inhibits our growth to export or to be a global player, is it's a technical data which some of you will be happy to see that in India or Thailand or Brazil, the sugar recovery moves in the realm of 11%, 12%. Our recovery in East Africa region is, if we get 8%, we start singing. Normally, we remain in the region of 7.5%. Now, for a layman, it's just a 4%, but from a technical point of view, 4% makes all the difference. So that's why our cost of production is always in the range of $600, $650 a ton plus, whereas other developed sugar economies, their cost of production is in the range of less than $500 a ton. So therefore, we predominantly export within the region. And now East Africa is basically working like a European market. We have a common market. So once if I'm producing something in Uganda, I don't have to pay any duty for exporting to Kenya and Tanzania. So there is another factor that since we have a market itself, a consumption market of almost 150 million people, so whatever we produce, it gets consumed within that market. So I don't have the need of looking at other markets as of now. Neither we have the capacity nor we have the logistics. So that's what is a potential barrier of East African sugar and the other products to move beyond the region.
A follow-up question: when we talk about Africa, there's always talk about currency, logistics always, but also currency.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of volatility in the currency due to what's happening in the world, or is this very normal?
Well, Africa, again, in terms of the currency and the economic micro factors, though as I said, it's a common market, but if I give you an exchange rate as of today, as on today, a dollar to a Kenyan shilling is 130 or 128. Uganda shilling is 2000. Uganda shilling is in the realm of 3,500. Tanzania shilling is 2,700. Rwanda franc is 1,400. So that's a barrier that each country's currency is totally way ahead of each other. So there is a disparity. Now the disparity is because of the different level of economic developments. I call it Kenya as an America of East Africa in terms of the economic development. They are in a different planet. Okay, so that's why one factor which is a barrier within the intra-regional trade is the currency fluctuation, because each country is at a different level of economic growth. Kenya is a more middle class economy which resembles more or less like India. Uganda is still moving in the region of lower middle income economy or a higher middle income economy. The per capita income is totally different between all these countries. So that's the one reason why the exchange rates are fluctuating. And secondly, each government has its own fiscal policies. And some countries like to control the exchange rate. Some countries, they have allowed it to be totally liberalized. That's, I think, my answer.
Thank you so much. Same question, Jitendra bhai. Domestic market versus exports. Where do you see better stability, especially the spices?
સ્પાઇસીસ તો પકડીએ તો ડોમેસ્ટિક ઇન્ડિયા 150 કરોડનું છે તો વધારે તો ડોમેસ્ટિક સારું રહે, પણ એક્સપોર્ટના બી પાસા એના અલગ અલગ છે કે જેમ કે જયભાઈએ કીધું બ્રાન્ડિંગ અને સર્વિસ અને ક્વોલિટી તમે આપો તો એક્સપોર્ટમાં બહુ સારી ઓપોર્ચ્યુનિટી છે. તો બંનેના પાસા અલગ અલગ છે, કેમ કે ઇન્ડિયા 150 કરોડનું છે તો ઇન્ડિયામાં તો સમજી લ્યો કન્ઝ્યુમ એટલું બધું છે.
પણ જી અત્યારે પ્રાઇસ પ્રાઇસ લેવલ્સ છે અત્યારે, એના લીધે તમને લાગે છે કે એક્સપોર્ટ ઘટી જશે? ડોમેસ્ટિક તો યુઝ થાય જ છે, પણ એક્સપોર્ટ ઘટશે સ્પાઇસીસ?
ના, એક્સપોર્ટ ઘટે એવું તો નથી લાગતું, કેમ કે આપણી ઇન્ડિયન વસ્તુ જેને ખાવા જોઈએ છે ને એને જોઈએ જ છે. તો આ ઇન્ડિયાથી લોકો મૂવ કરી રહ્યા છે બહારની તરફ, તો એક્સપોર્ટ ઘટશે તો નહીં જ, વધશે થોડું થોડું.
આનંદભાઈ તમારે કઈ આમાં એક્સપોર્ટમાં ડોમેસ્ટિક માટે કઈ?
કોટનની બજાર આખા વિશ્વની છે એ ન્યુયોર્કના આઈસ ફ્યુચર્સ વાયદા ઉપર ડિપેન્ડ છે. આઈસ ફ્યુચર્સમાં એટલું બધું વોલ્યુમ થાય છે કે આજની તારીખે એનું ઓપન ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ ઇન્ડિયન બેલ્સના માપમાં જોઈએ તો 4,90,00,000 ઘાસડીનું છે. ઇન્ડિયાનો ક્રોપ 3.25 કરોડ ને 4,90,00,000 ઘાસડીનું ઓપન ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ ત્યાં છે. 15 કરોડના ટોટલ વિશ્વના ક્રોપમાં આવડું મોટું ત્યાં ઓપન ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ છે. અને દરરોજની 50 લાખથી માંડીને 1 કરોડ ઘાસડીના ત્યાં સોદા વોલ્યુમ થાય છે. આખી દુનિયાનો વેપાર એના ઉપર ડિપેન્ડ છે. એટલે ત્યાં જે તેજીમંદી થાય તે બધી જગ્યાએ અસર કરવાની છે, ડોમેસ્ટિકમાં કરવાની છે, બધી કરવાની છે. પણ છેલ્લા 2-3 વર્ષથી એમએસપી અને ગવર્મેન્ટના ઇન્ટરફિયરના કારણે ઇન્ડિયામાં એની અસર થતી સાવ ઓછી થઈ ગઈ છે. ઇન્ડિયાના ભાવો સ્ટેબલ છે, ભલે ઇન્ટરનેશનલ કરતાં ઊંચા હતા પણ સ્ટેબલ છે. અત્યારે પણ સ્ટેબલ છે. ત્યાં વધઘટ થાય એની બહુ ઓછી અસર અત્યારે થઈ રહી છે, કારણ કે અત્યારે એક્સપોર્ટ થતું નથી, ઇમ્પોર્ટ થવાનું પણ મર્યાદિત છે. એટલે ઇન્ડિયાની અંદરમાં માર્કેટ સ્ટેબલ છે, એટલે એવું લાગે છે કે એને સ્ટેબલ રહેશે જ.
થેન્ક યુ. જયભાઈ, do you want to add on the export versus domestic?
See, I think India is a growing economy. જેમ જીતેન્દ્રભાઈ કીધું કે 150 કરોડ લોકો છે, so there is a huge opportunity that is there within India right now. Right now, India is on the cusp of the next tremendous growth phase. જે આપણે next decade છે, it is of India's. So if you place yourself well, if you place your product well, you can do wonders in the next 10 years. So I think, of course, export remains a very important part of the oilseed industry as such. But ધીરે ધીરે we will have to start looking inward. Domestic consumption is increasing, and that's why સારો પ્રોડક્ટ છે ઇન્ડિયન કન્ઝ્યુમર્સને પિચ કરશું તો ડેફિનેટલી આપણને એનું બહુ સારું રિટર્ન મળી શકે.
One more question again, everyone can answer. Organic products, where it's the hot topic, everyone's talking about organic commodities, everything. Do you really see again with COVID, of course, થોડુંક money spending power and there was a થોડુંક એમાં issue આવ્યા હતા, but overall do you see a very drastic future change in the organic products ke it'll remain slow and steady?
I think organic the sector is growing very fast. The supply is not able to catch up with the demand, so I think that is going to stay for the next 5 years because અત્યારે જેમ કે soil જેટલા આપણે major જોઈએ countries which are growing, soil quality is decreasing slowly and steadily, so pesticide usage is increasing, and for the farmers are becoming commercial everywhere. પહેલા આપણને લાગતું હતું કે ભાઈ આફ્રિકામાં છે તો ઇટ્સ નેચરલી ઓર્ગેનિક, આપણું નોર્થ ઇસ્ટ આપણું છે તો રીજન ઇઝ નેચરલી ઓર્ગેનિક, બટ ધીસ થિંગ્સ આર ચેન્જિંગ. ફાર્મર્સ આર બિકમિંગ કોમર્શિયલ ફાર્મર્સ એવરીવેર. તો એ લોકો પેસ્ટિસાઇડ યુઝ કરવાના છે બીકોઝ દે વોન્ટ હાઈ પ્રોડક્ટિવિટી. કોસ્ટ આર ઇન્ક્રીઝિંગ એવરીવેર. ફોર ધેમ ટુ survive and make money, pesticide usage is going to be there. So I think supply is going to be less than demand for organic, especially for the next 4-5 years, until we've got like a technological breakthrough, or where we have productivity increasing even without use of pesticides, or we have got pesticides with significantly lower half-life where we are not finding residues. Until that happens, I think supply is going to be less, and organic premiums will continue to fetch. Consumer behavior ની આપણે વાત કરીએ તો I think post COVID I feel yes, demand purchasing power may be slightly impacted, but actually I feel that organic nu demand and especially IPM quality nu demand has increased because people are getting more and more health conscious. People want to consume good products. People are aware. I was hearing Kantaria Sahib ke bhai, in a country like Kenya also, the consumers are very aware what they are consuming. Same in India. Of course, it was always true for Europe, US. They were always very aware of what they were eating. But now, these things are improving, and I think there's only one way to go. People are going to get more and more aware. People are going to get, more and more alert what they are eating. So, people are willing to spend for good food. So, I think this segment there will always be growth. What you need to crack is the supply. If you can crack supply, then organic, you will make money.
Raju bhai,
आप अगर ऑर्गेनिक की बात की तो आई जस्ट गिव आई सॉ एन ऑब्जर्वेशन टुडे मॉर्निंग और यस्टरडे मॉर्निंग. मैं अपने होटल में यहाँ पर मैं रुका हूँ तो ब्रेकफास्ट में बहुत कॉमन आइटम है जो हम रोज़, आई होप एवरीवन अंडरस्टैंड्स हिंदी वेरी वेल. तो सांभर के आगे लिखा हुआ था ऑर्गेनिक सांभर. तो मैंने अपने कोलिग से पूछा कि नाउ दिस इज़ ए क्लासिक एग्जांपल ऑफ द ब्रांडिंग, कि एक जो सांभर जो रोज की हमारी आइटम अगर वो भी ऑर्गेनिक हो गया है तो इट शोज कि ऑर्गेनिक थिंग इज हियर टू स्टे. अब एज ए बिजनेसमैन हमने उसका फ़ायदा उठा के उसको करना है, वो हमारे ऊपर है. सो दैट्स हियर, ऑर्गेनिक इज हियर टू स्टे. एंड टेकिंग क्यू फ्रॉम दैट, एज माई फेलो पैनलिस्ट सेड, कि प्रॉब्लम हम लोग जब इंडियंस अफ्रीका में आते हैं ना, आई एम टेलिंग अ रियल लाइफ सिनेरियो व्हाई सम ऑफ आवर बिजनेसेस आर फ्लाउंडरिंग इन अफ्रीका, कि हम कमोडिटी तक रहते हैं, उसको ब्रांड में नहीं कन्वर्ट करते हैं. वी थिंक अफ्रीका इज ए कैश काउ and we can make undue profits. I'm using very, very harsh reality. Please don't treat Africa as a dumping ground. Africa needs value for money, utility products. आइए इन्वेस्ट करिए, कमोडिटी मत लेके आइए, ब्रांड लेके आइए. Own it. Don't be an absentee landlord. That's the key to the success in Africa. Africa is brand conscious and success is there. That's my experience of 25 years. It's a serious market. It's no more a dump yard. डर के आगे जीत है, जैसा मेरी फेलो पैनलिस्ट ने आपने बोला शुरू में. एंड सेइंग इन द लास्ट माय पार्ट स्वाइली में करीबू साना, आप सबका स्वागत है. थैंक यू.
Thank you. Do you want to add on the organic or the IPM? It's well covered.
ઓર્ગેનિક આઈપીએમ તો ધવલભાઈએ બધું કવર કરી દીધું, પણ ફ્યુચર સારું જ છે. પણ આપણા ફાર્મરોમાં હજી આપણા કોઈ સ્ટેટ જ હજી એનાથી અવેર છે. ખાસ કરીને આપણું ગુજરાત બહુ પાછળ છે એના માટે. ટાઈમ લાગશે હજી 5-10 વર્ષ, પણ ફ્યુચર બહુ સારું છે ઓર્ગેનિક આઈપીએમ.
કોટનમાં પણ ઓર્ગેનિકનો અને સર્ટિફાઈડ કોટનનો ઘણો મોટો હિસ્સો છે. અમેરિકન અને યુરોપિયન માર્કેટ, રિટેલ માર્કેટમાં પબ્લિક ઓર્ગેનિક ક્લોથ્સ, શર્ટ્સમાં કે એપરલ્સમાં સારા પ્રીમિયમથી પૈસા આપીને માલ લે છે. અને એનો લાભ લેવા માટે ઘણી ઓર્ગેનિકની સંસ્થાઓ વર્લ્ડ વાઇડ કામ કરે છે. ઇન્ડિયામાંથી પણ ઓર્ગેનિક કોટન જાય છે, બીજા બીસીઆઈ અને બીજા સર્ટિફાઈડ કોટનો જાય છે. પણ અનફોર્ચ્યુનેટલી જે કાંઈ ઓર્ગેનિક જાય છે એ ખરેખર ઓર્ગેનિક થતું નથી. ખાલી ફક્ત સર્ટિફિકેટ હોય છે અને પોસિબલ જ નથી કોટનની અંદરમાં ઓર્ગેનિક અત્યારના સંજોગોમાં થાય. એક જ આપણી ગુજરાતની એક 797 કલ્યાણ વેરાયટી છે કે જેમાં દવાનો ઉપયોગ નથી થતો. એ સિવાય કોઈ પણ વેરાયટી પેસ્ટિસાઇડ વગર થતી નથી. એટલે ફક્ત સર્ટિફિકેટ છે, પણ એનો લાભ, વેપારી લાભ પૂરી દુનિયા ઉઠાવે છે. જે લઈ શકતા હોય એ બધા લે છે. ઇટ્સ ઓકે.
Thank you. One last question and then we'll close. One strategic advice for Indian Lohana agri entrepreneurs aiming to go global. I think all of you you've added a bits and pieces, but if you can sum it up. Indian Lohana entrepreneurs અહીંયા બહુ બધા છે, એ લોકો aspiring છે, they want to go global. There's a lot of domestic players. There are players who maybe don't know a lot about Africa, or they are afraid of getting into African trade with any issues. So what is your advice to them?
My suggestion, use brand India. Integrate brand India with the potential of Africa. Thank you.
I think if you want to go global, I think you have to start with the basics. હું આજે ઘણા બધા એન્ટરપ્રિનર્સને, ઘણા બધા લોકોને મળું છું જે એમ કહે છે કે મારે એક્સપોર્ટ કરવું છે. They don't know one thing about exporting. I think you have to start with the basics. Understand documentation, understand logistics, understand credit insurance, understand insurance. આ બધી વસ્તુ એટલી કોમ્પ્લિકેટેડ નથી જેટલી સાઉન્ડ કરે છે. You just, હવે તો શું છે, ગૂગલ, AI, આ બધો જમાનો છે. You can, within 1 month you can get yourself, proficient with all these normal things. But આ વસ્તુ તમને સમજ્યા વગર તમે એક્સપોર્ટ ચાલુ કરો, then you are, going into a pitfall. તમે ક્યાંય ને ક્યાંય ભૂલ કરશો. So whenever you're going to new markets, please understand that market. Normal geographical understanding તમને હોવી જોઈએ. જેમ કે પોપટ સાહેબે કીધું કે તમને કોટન છે તો તમને બેઝિક અન્ડરસ્ટેન્ડિંગ હોવી જોઈએ કે વોટ કોટન ઇઝ, ગ્લોબલ ડિમાન્ડ, ગ્લોબલ સપ્લાય, હાઉ ડુ ધ લોજિસ્ટિક્સ વર્ક. જે બી કમોડિટી તમારે કરવી છે, બેઝિક અન્ડરસ્ટેન્ડિંગ ઓફ ધ ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી, બેઝિક અન્ડરસ્ટેન્ડિંગ ઓફ ક્રેડિટ ઇન્સ્યોરન્સ. આજે ECGC પોલિસીઝ મોસ્ટ એક્સપોર્ટર્સ આપણે લોકો ત્યાં એક્સપોર્ટ કરીએ છીએ, નો બડી બાઇઝ ઇટ. ઇટ્સ વેરી ઇઝીલી અવેલેબલ. પ્રીમિયમ્સ આર ઓલ્સો ઓકે. તમે નવું સ્ટાર્ટ કરો છો, ટેક ક્રેડિટ ઇન્સ્યોરન્સ, ટેક મરીન ઇન્સ્યોરન્સ, calamities વધતી જાય છે, you get vessels ડૂબી જશે, if you have 10 containers on the vessel, બોટ બંધ કરીને જવું પડશે. These are the basic steps. If you want to go global, start with the basics. Start with all these things, understand these things properly, then start exports. It's not that complicated, but આવી રીતે સ્ટાર્ટ કરશો તો સક્સેસ થવાના ચાન્સીસ બહુ વધારે છે. થેન્ક યુ.
પરફેક્ટ, થેન્ક યુ. જીતુભાઈ.
જયભાઈએ બધું કવર કરી લીધું, પણ બંને બાજુ આપણા ભાઈઓ જ છે, તો કાંઈ ને કંઈ એકાબીજાથી જોડાઈને સ્ટાર્ટ કરશું તો રિસ્ક બહુ ઓછું થઈ જશે. તો મારા હિસાબે તો ક્યાંય ને ક્યાંય જોડાઈને કામ કરવું જોઈએ.
એન્ટ્રી હંમેશા દુબઈ લોકો વિચારતો હોય, હવે આપણે આફ્રિકા વિચારશું.
રૂમાં તો એક્સપોર્ટનો ટાઈમ વયો ગયો, બીજી બધી કોમોડિટીઝનો મને બહુ એક્સપિરિયન્સ નથી, પણ કેલ્ક્યુલેટેડ રિસ્ક લઈને કોઈ પણ ગુજરાતી લુવાણો કોઈ પણ દેશમાં ગમે તે વસ્તુનું એક્સપોર્ટ કરી શકશે અને એમાં સક્સેસ થશે જ, એવું મારું માનવું છે.
થેન્ક યુ સો મચ. આઈ થિંક વિલ ક્લોઝ. ઓડિયન્સમાંથી કોઈને કાંઈ ક્વેશ્ચન્સ? ઇફ યુ કેન ગિવ ધ માઇક ધેર.
જય જલારામ. वडील थी लई અને જુવાન બધા જ પેનલિસ્ટમાં હોય, યાની સभी लोग पैनल में है and talking about farming. So I'm coming from a farmer family and we have potato, બનાસકાંઠાથી છું, તો બટાકા, મગફળી. તો આઈ વોન્ટ કે તમારા લોકોનો કોન્ફિડન્સ છે, પણ એવી કઈ વાતો છે જે તમે કીધું કે નોલેજ બેઝિક હોવું, પણ એ જે વાત કરી ને ભાઈએ કે આપણે બધા ભેગા થઈને કરીશું, તો એ પ્લેટફોર્મ કઈ રીતે ઊભું કરવું? આજે ડિસ્કશન કરીને જતા રહીશું, મળશું, પણ એક જરિયો આફ્રિકામાં આવવાનો, તો એ હાઉ વી કેન સ્ટાર્ટ. અને એઝ અ યંગ એ જ અમારી એક્સાઇટમેન્ટ વધારે હોય અને કંઈક કરી નાખવાની આમ અંદરથી હોય, પણ એ શાંત રહીને પેશન્સ સાથે કઈ રીતે કરવું, તો એ તમારામાંથી કોઈ કહી શકે.
If I am getting your question correctly, you are asking कि अफ्रीका में आप कैसे आ सकते हैं बिजनेस शुरू करने के लिए. मैं आपके सवाल का आंसर वहाँ से शुरू करूँगा. Way back in 1905, a young man at the age of 18 called as Muljibai Madhwani started his village in Porbandar, came to East Africa. छोटी सी एक पंसारी की दुकान उन्होंने खोली थी. आज वो माधवानी ग्रुप है जो आज इस LIBF का स्पॉन्सर है और मैं उनके साथ काम करता हूँ. तो कुछ ज़्यादा सोचने का ज़रूरत नहीं है, हिम्मत करिए, अपना ड्रीम देखिए, अपना कोर एरिया ऑफ स्ट्रेंथ देखिए और आइए. बाकी भगवान आपको आपका साथ देगा, हम लोग हैं. थैंक यू.
So actually, to answer your question, you are in the right place. You are where everybody is. તો તમારે શું છે, યુ ડુ નેટવર્કિંગ, તમે જે તમારું સ્ટ્રેન્થ છે એ તમે કરો અને યુ મીટ લાઇક માઇન્ડેડ પીપલ એન્ડ દેન ગ્રો ફ્રોમ ધેર. અત્યારે તો શું છે, યુ આર બિલ્ડિંગ કોન્ટેક્ટ્સ. આઈ થિંક ધીસ ઇઝ ધ મોસ્ટ ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ થિંગ ફોર યુ એટ સચ a young age. You need to know people, and whenever you have questions, you need to know who to contact. They will help you and they will guide you. Yeah.
I am not in agriculture industry, but we are in printing industry. So what is the scope for printing machines, materials and all? That is what anybody can help for that thing. Because we are buying machines also from Europe, and in African countries some machines are also exported. So I just want to have guidelines or help if somebody can guide me for that thing.
देखिए, जहाँ तक प्रिंटिंग इंडस्ट्री का स्कोप का सवाल है, युगांडा में फ्लेक्सो प्रिंटिंग काफ़ी ज़्यादा बढ़ रहा है, ग्रेवियो प्रिंटिंग की काफ़ी डिमांड है, और जहाँ तक मैं समझता हूँ केनिया तो ऑलरेडी काफ़ी एडवांस है. केनिया हैज़ द बेस्ट प्रिंटिंग फैसिलिटीज़ ऑलरेडी. पहले हम इंडिया से अपना जो शुगर का पैकिंग मटेरियल है इंडिया से इंपोर्ट करते थे, अब हम केनिया से इंपोर्ट करते हैं. तो अगर आप प्रिंटिंग इंडस्ट्री में हैं और ईस्ट अफ्रीका में अगर आप अपना प्रिंटिंग का कुछ बिजनेस लगाना चाहते हैं, तो अगर तो आप मैच्योर मार्केट देख रहे हैं जहाँ पे आपको सारी फैसिलिटीज़ मिलें, तो आइडियल प्लेस टू पुट अप द फैक्ट्री इज़ केनिया. और अगर आपको ग्रोइंग मार्केट चाहिए जहाँ पे रिलेटिवली एंट्री इजी है, दैट इज़ ईदर युगांडा और तंजानिया. लेकिन पोटेंशियल पूरे ईस्ट अफ्रीका में पर्टिकुलरली बायोडिग्रेडेबल प्रिंटिंग मटेरियल का काफ़ी है, जैसे जैसे एनवायरनमेंट बढ़ रहा है। दूसरा, पेपर पैकिंग का काफ़ी वहाँ पे स्कोप है इस वक्त। जैसे रवांडा है, रवांडा में कोई प्लास्टिक अलाउड नहीं है। यू विल बी सरप्राइज टू नोस दैट रवांडा, ए टाइनी ईस्ट अफ्रीकन कंट्री, डज नॉट अलाउ एनी लैमिनेट, एनी प्लास्टिक. You have to strictly put everything in a paper. You'll be surprised to know they are so environment conscious. A tiny East African country. तो वहाँ पे पेपर पैकिंग का बहुत स्कोप है. थैंक यू.
सर एक क्वेश्चन था.
जी बताइए.
अगर मर्चेंट एक्सपोर्ट है जिनको राइस या फिर से स्पाइसेस वहाँ पे एक्सपोर्ट करने हैं अफ्रीका में, हाउ डू वी डू इट और व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस कमिंग फॉरवर्ड, बिकॉज वी जस्ट स्टार्टेड इनटू इट, वी जस्ट गेटिंग इनटू इट. तो उसमें डॉक्यूमेंटेशन हमको क्या समझना चाहिए, कैसे करनी चाहिए, वो निटी-ग्रिटीज मतलब क्या क्या हमको समझना है, हाउ डू वी डू इट.
कौन आंसर करना चाहिए? देखिए, चावल का जहाँ तक सवाल है, दो मुझे उस इंडस्ट्री का बहुत पता नहीं है, लेकिन पाकिस्तानी इरी 6 चावल की बहुत ज़्यादा कंजम्पशन है युगांडा में. वो आपका जैसे इंडिया में शायद परमल राइस का रिप्लेसमेंट है, दो आई एम नॉट वेरी श्योर, बट आई थिंक दैट्स द वन. एंड इरी 6 की वहाँ पर काफ़ी डिमांड रहती है. दैट्स समथिंग विच इज़ मोस्ट सॉट आफ्टर. और अपर एंड में बासमती चावल इंडिया से बहुत जाता है, इंडिया से और दुबई से. ये दो चीज़ है चावल में. तीसरा, वहाँ पे तंजानिया से चावल बहुत आता है. तंजानिया इज़ ए राइस सरप्लस कंट्री. और कुछ काफ़ी लोग वहाँ पे अब चावल की अपनी एफएफएस मशीन लेके ब्रांडिंग भी कर रहे हैं. थैंक यू.
अंडरस्टूड, थैंक यू. बट वो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन क्या क्या चैलेंजेस होते हैं और प्रोसेस कैसे होगा, वो अगर हमको समझना है, हाउ डू वी डू दैट.
अगर तो आप इंडिया से एक्सपोर्ट करना चाहते हैं, तो आपको हर एक कंट्री का अपना एक सर्टिफिकेशन है. एंड उसमें अभी जीएमओ का तो स्कोप नहीं आया हमारे पास में. एंड बट ईच, जैसे उसकी चावल की क्या वैरायटी है, क्या ब्रोकन परसेंटेज है, उसके हिसाब से उनकी पॉलिसीज अलग अलग हैं. बट माइक्रो डिटेल्स आई कैन प्रॉमिस, इफ यू लेट मी नो योर ईमेल एड्रेस, आई व्हेन आई गो बैक टुमारो आई विल डेफिनेटली फाइंड आउट एंड लेट यू नो.
थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू सो मच.
I think that person has asked the question for felicitation of the export import. There are platforms being created by the European countries, exhibit platforms. That is, he was asking that can a Lohana platform can be created between different countries, and export import can be felicitated through that platform. Is it possible to create a, because we all are sitting together, a platform can be created. Is it possible?
It is, I think, definitely possible. Of course, we have to take it up with Satish bhai. But of course, the idea is કે આપણે બધા મળીએ, આપણે બધા એકબીજાને ઓળખીએ, ક્યાં gaps છે. There are always gaps. There are always opportunities. We have to find it. કોઈ આપણને સામેથી નહીં કે ભાઈ અહીંયા આ ઇશ્યુ છે તમે આવો. We have to find the gaps. We have to meet people. As Jay bhai said, the networking is the most important. Of course, a platform is something that we have to take it up internally. But apart from that, this platform is, I think, very good enough for people to to talk, to mingle, and definitely find synergies. I think if we are done with the questions, we'll close the panel. Yeah.
એક ક્વેશ્ચન છે.
Yeah. Yes.
એઆઈ या ઓટોમેશનની જે હવા ચાલી રહી છે, ઘણા ફિલ્ડને ઓલરેડી ઇમ્પેક્ટ થઈ ગયું છે. આ ફિલ્ડમાં આપણે ઓટોમેશનને કેવી રીતે જોયું છે, એઝ અ થ્રેટ ઓર એઝ અ બૂન?
See, AI, whether it is a threat or a boon, I think it's a question for any industry right now, not only for the agri industry, but it's only time will tell. એક છે અત્યારે તો it is creating a lot of opportunities. The kind of data sets that these AI LLMs can create. Actually, આજે હું 15 વર્ષનો એક્સપિરિયન્સ લઈને બેઠો છું અને કોઈ નવો મેમ્બર એડ થાય અને he has the right kind of questions for an AI data set. For him to get in that same knowledge that I have in 15 years, he can do it in 15 days. So, ये एक opportunity છે જ અત્યારે for anybody new who knows AI, who knows how to get information from it. I think it's a boon for that. Threat, we have to see. I don't think we are anywhere close to it being a threat right now. But there is a lot of opportunity there. There is a lot of knowledge which can be gained from these AI platforms. So I think for everybody, you can use that, get conversant with it, use it to your advantage.
I'll add one thing. one thing that everyone should know, AI hallucinates. AI ne sapna બહુ આવે એટલે you have to cross verify all the data. It's not easy. You have to have the right prompts, you have to use the right thing, and you have to cross verify a lot of data. પેલા આન્સરમાં કોઈ દિવસ સાચો આન્સર નહીં મળે. ઓફકોર્સ અત્યારે તો એઆઈના બહુ બધા મળી ગયા છે બધા tutors and all, but you have to be very careful when using AI. AI is not just a email sending tool, refine my answers, all that. AI is much more complex. Use it the right way, definitely you'll benefit, no doubt about it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this amazing panel discussion and in detail insights about the real times questions, because frankly speaking, before 30 years, if you have a courage, you can move around the world. But nowadays, you don't need just courage, you need more knowledge, more insights, more networking and more support. And I think that's why we have LIBF 2026. So I would like to request Mr. Bimal sir to please come on stage to facilitate our panels, because they have shared their experience, execution and evolution for the agribusiness. First of all, please friends, give a big round of applause for our panelists. First of all, we facilitate Mr. Raju Sareen, Head of Business, Madhwani Group. Thank you so much, Mr. Raju, to share your detailed experience with our audience. Now I would like to request Bimal sir to facilitate Mr. Anand Bhai Popat, Protean Trading Director Owner. Now I would like to request Bimal sir to facilitate Mr. Jitendra Bhai Kakkar, Shriji Global Limited. And last but not least, Mr. Joy Bhai Chandarana from Rubber Agri Exports Limited. I would like to request Dhaval to facilitate our keynote speaker. Yes, you are younger than him, but you are doing the job today. Please friends, give a big round of applause for our keynote speaker, our panel, and Mr. Dhaval Chandarana for this amazing session where we can have a detailed interaction about food and agri-business for globally and for Indian market. Thank you so much for your really great questions for this panel also. But if I would like to share only 3 points from this panel and from this interactive session, I will say nowadays you have to think for branding for your business. Second, you can start at domestic to build your brand and then you can move globally. And third, most important, if you have a courage, you can well do at any place, at any location with the support of Lohanas.